Protests and demonstrations in support of those being attacked in Gaza have swept the nation, now taking place at college campuses in every corner of the country. And at most of them, there is some significant pushback from the administration, from counter-protesters, and from police as well. At Emory University in Atlanta, 2 faculty members were actually arrested yesterday as they were trying to stop police from attacking students. So as context, there was a encampment of about a dozen tents that had been set up around 7:30 in the morning. And just a few hours later, it had already been dispersed by the Atlanta Police Department and Georgia State Patrol officers, apparently according to reports using both tear gas and rubber bullets against the encampment that had been there for about 3 hours at that point. For context, and as we said, it involved not just the police and students, but professors as well. Take a look at this.
You are Hitler. You are a laughing dog. Shame on you. May you never live another day.
I am a professor.
This is an Emory professor, everyone.
I am a professor.
You are rabid dogs. You are fascists.
The woman you see there being slammed to the ground shouting, "I am a professor," is indeed Emory economics professor Caroline Fohlin, and that incident was described by police as battery. But I want to be very clear. They did not describe what they did to her as battery. They apparently charged her with battery against the police officers. Perhaps something happened outside of the bounds of that video later on while she was being detained. Apparently she was jailed for 11 hours. But if that is the incident, then this definitely needs to be looked into, because there was needless violence doled out there. Why that woman who was just asking what they were doing to the cops needed to have her face slammed down on the concrete, I don't necessarily understand. But if you were going to attempt to describe what she did to them as battery, you should hopefully have to answer to someone for that. Now we have a lot more obviously, but Jordan, what do you make of this?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
It's disgusting. I mean, we've seen the White House, we've seen members of Congress decry and denounce all of these protests when these are college students, professors, allies showing up to call for peace. What we saw before this were students, members of the faculty meeting, celebrating, having a Seder together across different campuses, calling for peace. And they're met with state violence. You're seeing the cops lie about what happened. This isn't new. This is just what they do because they don't expect people with the camera to be there. And as these charges and these arrests continue to mount up, there is a need for support. So I put together a site, campusbailfunds.com. In one list, you can click and find ways to donate to all of these different student groups all over the country and a national bail fund, because they're going to need support, they're going to need help, and if they're still going to continue with their encampments, they're going to need supplies. So campusbailfunds.com, you can help out all of these protesters.
Francesca?
God, I love you, Jordan. You're so great with this. Jordan springs into action. I just spring into sheer anger and rage at what is happening. One of the other pieces of misinformation is not just that this professor assaulted a police officer, but it is that these protests that are spreading across the country are somehow anti-Semitic. We know that that is a lie, and yet it's something that's been echoed by this administration, this Democratic administration. So I just keep on pouring through my mind the ways that Joe Biden and leading Democrats have told us that democracy is at stake, and yet here we have their line is sort of no different than the cops line, than the university's line. The police, the administrators, and the White House are all in lockstep on this. Mike Johnson is using Columbia as a place to do stump speeches, right? I mean, it is wild to me how students have been abandoned. And lastly, think about these students, where they've come from. Maybe they were in 12th grade when George Floyd was murdered. Maybe they were in 11th grade. That was their first protest ever, right? 2020. Then what happens? They go out, maybe they got arrested then, or they got brutalized, or their friend did, right? That's incredibly politicizing. Then what happened? 2021 January, right? They see a bunch of boat dads storm the Capitol, and they're being now defended basically by the Supreme Court, right? They might not, like a lot of the Jan 6ers might get off, right? Then they've been in the pandemic, they've had to remote school. Suddenly a genocide is taking place. It's on all their social media feeds, right? They see it every day, and yet the media and mainstream politicians are telling them it's not what they're seeing. This is not actually genocide. In fact, you're anti-Semitic for saying so. Then they take to their own campuses, and their administrators and the cops and the political establishment throw them under the bus. This is wildly radicalizing. This is incredibly politicizing. And I will say to those students, let this moment politicize you. I think it's important. And you see that by doing this kind of repression, all the cops and politicians and university leaders are doing is ensuring there will be more and more and more of this.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll talk in a little bit about, there are multiple reasons why I think the crackdown is happening as fast and as violent as it is. We'll certainly talk about that, but none of this should be new. College campuses are places for this sort of activism. It happens. There are tent encampments from time to time. And I'm not just saying that the students are surprised that the violence is so quick. You could see in those professors who might have been there for years, decades, they were shocked at what they were seeing because they've certainly been there for other protests that did not receive this sort of, again, state-sanctioned crackdown. And I don't just mean like Georgia state, I mean the US government, as you pointed out, Mike Johnson and other Republicans, to distract from the positions that they hold in regard to the genocide, are attempting to point the finger at the students to say, oh, no, I understand that we're totally fine with all these people being murdered. Don't think about that. Think about the fact that these people are anti-Semitic. And as you pointed out, wild overcharacterization. There have been some signs that were either threatening of violence or anti-Semitic. There have been some statements that have been made by some people. No protest, no social movement has ever been capable of being 100% pure. If it lets anyone in, anyone can get involved. You meet over and over again, hundreds, thousands of people involved. If you only need to care about what people are saying when every single one of them says exactly what you're okay with and exactly in the way you're okay with, then no social movement in American history has ever reached that bar, nor will it, conveniently, because they don't want it to. So, and in this case, there are no even accusations at Emory University of those sorts of things happening. And this is not a case where they had this encampment for 2 weeks and they're disrupting classes and the campus is shut down. It had been there for 3 hours. The vast majority of students probably hadn't even seen it yet, and they were already cracking down on it. Now, as I said, I do want to talk about the motivations a little bit, but before we go to that, I do want to give you another voice from on the campus. The chair of the school's philosophy department, Noelle McAfee, here talking with Democracy Now!
And then I saw in front of me a student on the ground with 3 or 4 policemen pummeling the student, just pummeling and pummeling. And I tried to video it. I was standing there about 3 feet away from it. And it went on for like a minute or two. And I said, screamed, "What are you doing?" And then they stopped pummeling the student, and a policeman stood in front of me and said, "You need to leave." And I felt like the person who just needed to stay and witness what had just happened. And so I stood there several feet away, and then he started dragging me off and putting my hands behind my back and took me in.
I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do for you right now?
Yes, can you call the philosophy department office and tell them I've been arrested?
Philosophy department?
Yes, call the philosophy department office.
And I love that, like, there is so much fear amongst those in charge of like the political status quo that young people are like, they're being manipulated, they're seeing things on the TikToks or whatever. They have this wild idea of what our government is like. Why do they think we're like this? Let's bash their skulls in, let's drag their professors away. I kind of feel like you're making the content for them at this point. And TikTok isn't banned yet, they're still gonna see it. So anyway, for me, what we're seeing at the individual college campus is obviously unacceptable. But the fact that the reaction seems to be driven less by genuine fear about what's being said and more about like the campus, like the professor of Emory or the higher ups, they must be terrified that if these protests continue for a few days, for a week, they're gonna get called into Congress. They're gonna be told to resign. They're gonna lose their jobs because Patricia Fox and Mike Johnson and Marjorie Greene are performatively losing their mind about these protests as a distraction from what they're doing and not doing. So at all levels, this is absolutely horrendous. But Francesca, give me your thoughts about all this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this speaks to I think, the Palestine exception when it comes to freedom of speech. It's the Palestine exception when it comes to human rights. It's the Palestine exception when it comes to anything, right? And every liberation movement has had that. Every liberation movement, it's all good, don't talk about South Africa like that, don't talk about Vietnam like that. I mean, each kind of liberation movement has had this amount of pushback. But at a moment when we've covered on TYT the attacks on intellectualism, generally academia, colleges, higher learning, the right loves to dismantle it, except never before have we seen leading Democrats give them hammers with which to dismantle it. You see the same, Democratic mayors, Eric Adams do the same things that, Republican politicians like Governor Greg Abbott does. Like the same kinds of things are saying, yeah, go after our elite institutions, go after the presidents because they can't properly define intifada as anti-Semitic, which it is not actually fundamentally. And these professors and these administrators, the administrators are crumbling. I am floored that have they not watched TYT? I mean, have they not watched any Republican right-wing news? Do they know what's going on? Do they know how bad faith they're gonna twist your words and take you out of context? It's time to have a little bit of a backbone, but they don't have one. So I am astounded at how much the students have been hung out to dry here. And I am scared for what this means for not only November, but for higher learning and education broadly. What I am not scared of, however, is the movement for liberation for Palestinians. Look, I was a student activist in the year 2003, 2002, started against the Iraq War. Our administration wasn't, allowing the NYPD to arrest us en masse. We did that elsewhere. But, at that time, calling for divestment from Palestine was definitely not popular. Now, after 34,000 plus civilians have been killed in a genocide, it is spreading like wildfire. So I do have hope that one day we will attain some amount, an end of the occupation and some amount of liberation for the Palestinian people. But I think there is a long and scary road ahead, and especially when it comes to our own civil rights here at home.
Yeah, I never want to hear about campus free speech from the right ever again. This was your moment. This was your moment to stand up and speak up and show that you're committed to this as an actual principle rather than a slogan. Greg Abbott prided himself on defending campus free speech for conservatives. You could see it in his statement when he signed that bill. What's he doing this week? By the order of Texas, under him, they're bashing and beating protesters and members of the media for even covering it. They arrested a cameraman for a local Fox affiliate in Austin just for being there. The idea that the right genuinely cares about campus free speech is ludicrous. But it was funny to see Matt Walsh, who was apparently too stupid to get the memo that, this only benefits our side, question Abbott's actions, question the University of Texas and police officers in Texas, question their actions. Like, whoa, I thought we cared about free speech. Matt, you are too stupid to realize this, but you're in a position where you only defend it for the right, and I hope this helps you going forward. But it's just totally disingenuous. The whole thing is an absolute charade.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.